Welcome to Q&A with, a show where I focus on the role behind the person to give you some insight into how to operate in their world.
Hello, my name is Davo, and today we have...
Laurence White, a portrait artist from Essex.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no worries.
So, contemporary art, what exactly is that?
It's just a modern day art, really. Like, there's obviously different genres of art, but yeah, contemporary is kind of, just the new school of art. I would say more broadly.
So basically anything that's current, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Within this genre of contemporary art, how would you describe your style within that, or your niche?
Yeah, I like that question. Like, for me, I guess I'm a traditional oil painter, but I paint fairly contemporary style images of like portraits of people's faces and that kind of thing, of successful people. I think that, I guess my style is quite traditional, but the way that I promote my art, the way that I market myself, I would say is very contemporary, and that I use social media as opposed to like going through a gallery system to be able to sell my art.
Okay, so it's not just the art in itself, it's the whole process around your art that is contemporary as well. You mentioned oil paint there.
Yeah.
Do you use a variety of colours, or do you stick to certain colours?
So I just use literally black and white. That is quite intentional, because I think of art as a business, and so there's a couple of reasons for going with black and white. Firstly, it's quicker. You haven't got to think about all the different colours and stuff like that in a painting, so you haven't got to like mix up new colours and all that kind of stuff, which takes a lot of time, trying to get the tones right and all that kind of stuff. And the reason I say that is, like, if you're trying to produce a certain amount of paintings, being able to like get them out fairly quickly is like one of the reasons. And then secondly, black and white is quite is it unoffensive, non-offensive, so that as many people will like the paintings and then will in turn buy it. Whereas if it's some outrageous color, that's just an extra barrier I see to the actual sale of the piece of work. Do you know what I mean? So it's twofold.
So this is no sort of discredit to your work, but you do approach art with a business like mine as well.
Yeah, I think I chose not to get into I haven't gone into the gallery system yet, so I don't have someone representing me to sell my artwork. So I think that I have to see it very business-like, otherwise I wouldn't make any sales. Do you know what I mean? So I think that everything I do around the art is kind of centered on centered on being able to make sales to keep the business going.
Out of all the art that does exist, abstract art, traditional art, or however it is correctly phrased, why contemporary art?
There is no rhyme or reason to it. I think that I love a quote by Steve Harvey, and the American comedian. He says that your gift is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. And I just am good at painting. I'm just good at doing that thing, and that is what I've chosen to do, and it works for me. So there's no kind of rhyme or reason as to why contemporary or whatever. I like painting, I am good at it, and that's why I see it as my gift. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of why I've gone down that path,
That's fair. Know what you do and do it well.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, exactly that.
And I read on your bio, and you've been featured in various websites, that you're self-taught.
Yeah.
So you've had no formal training whatsoever. And did you have any sort of mentors as well? Not just people you just saw online or whatever, but actual mentors to help guide you? No,
not really. I think the only mentors that I would have, I do a lot of the people that I paint. I research them, and because they are the people that have got to kind of the top or the very elite of what they do in whatever field they're in, you kind of pick up certain characteristics, certain traits that they have, and so I just try and implement as many of those into what I do as possible. But no mentor other than the trusty old YouTube and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
You can't go wrong with YouTube.
Yeah.
So without any direct influence, mentors or traditional, I guess, school educational route to art, do you think that helped you, or do you think that may have hindered you and you may have missed something out?
Yes and no. I'm sure you learn things by going to uni and getting that degree and doing further education in art. I'm sure there are pluses to doing that. I definitely think that to be considered in the gallery system as one of the kind of the greats and start making your way kind of in the industry in that respect, getting your masters and that kind of thing in art, that does help, and it will help get you into gallery. But when you're selling art on your own, it would have made no real difference. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes and no. I just think that to do what is about a 3-year course, I don't know if that'd be a waste of time or not. Huh?
I guess really and truly, I guess you can't miss what you don't know, essentially.
Yeah, that's true. And like, I don't know about, well, I've got a business degree, and I've never used it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like I'm not sure how relevant it is these days, but yeah.
Are you able to, I guess, list some of the tools you use to create your art?
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty rudimentary. Like, it's pretty simple. I think that outside, kind of going from the ground up, I will have my canvas. On top of that, we'll go like a priming layer to like get the canvas ready or whatever you. Obviously got my paint brushes, and then literally just black and white oil paint. And then whilst you're mixing the paint, I'll use like Sandor, which is like an alcohol which thins the paint a little bit. It makes it easier to kind of like move paint around the canvas and stuff like that. It just thins it down a little bit. But outside of that, it's pretty straightforward. I use my iPad as like a reference, obviously, then to look at the image that I'm painting from. And outside that, yeah, it's just you knocking it out of the canvas, I guess.
And what would be the most expensive? I guess this might be the iPad. What would be the most expensive item or tool that you would use in your art?
Time.
Time.
Yeah, like it just they take quite a long time to do. The most expensive item, probably the paint. Yeah, because you go through quite a lot of it. It's not cheap. But yeah, I think again, thinking about it from a business aspect, the profit margin in it is quite high because there's not much cost to actually producing a portrait, but the cost is actually in the advertising of it. So to spend on ads to put yourself out there, that costs the money. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So the actual material cost of making the painting isn't much, but you're talking about 100, 200 pounds.
The awareness of it, the branding awareness of it is
exactly. That's the expensive bit, in my opinion.
You mentioned time, so I guess on average, how long would it take to create a paint, and what's your longest time it's taking to create a piece of art?
40 to 50 hours is kind of like the normal time that it takes to make a painting 1 meter by 1 meter. That's about 40 to 50 hours. And then the longest piece was I think it was about 75, 80 hours. But especially in the beginning, I don't really do it so much now. Yeah. I would write down and mark my hours, like so how long each painting took. Because then I know if I've got a few projects coming up, I know roughly how long a painting is going to take me to do. And so that if a client comes in and then another client comes in, I can be like, cool, I can get that done in this amount of time, and I can do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I roughly know how long it takes.
And do you complete your artwork in one setting, or do you stop, take a week, and then come back to it?
No. I do it in 2-hour bursts. So like after 2 hours, my concentration will just like go. Do you know what I mean? So it's best to just take that break, take that 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, even an hour, whatever, and then come back to it and do another 2 hours. And on average, in a day, I'll probably spend about 6 hours painting realistically. I'd like to say it's more, but it's across a day, 6, maybe 7 hours. Yeah. But yeah, that's generally how much time it would take out of my day. Do you know what I mean? Because outside of that, the rest, I spend 70% of my time on social media dealing with the business side of it than the painting, posting content, creating videos, editing videos, posting pictures, commenting, replying to comments, email. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That kind of stuff is what the rest of the day is filled up with, and that takes up like I said, 70% of the time.
And that's all you don't have like a team or anybody?
I did have a social media manager, someone that would kind of outreach, dealing with and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, I had to kind of let her go. It was just too expensive to kind of keep her on, sort of thing. So yeah, it's just me at the moment.
I wanted to ask you where you draw inspiration from, but I think you already answered it when you said you look how you do research into, I guess, influential celebrities, and then that's where you take inspiration from, really.
Yeah, I think I've always been fascinated by what it takes to become successful and what it takes to get to the very top of your field. And I paint the icons and the people that have managed to get to the top of their respective fields. Do you know what I mean? So, and when you look into these people, you tend to find that they're actually recurring themes and recurring things that they do, which I find really interesting. So yeah, it just comes from a personal fascination. But I'm lucky that a lot of the paintings that I do are commissions. So someone will come to me and they'll be like, I want a picture of, I was going to say Will Smith then, probably not Will Smith anymore. Chris Rock.
Chris Rock,
And they'll say, I want this. And then, we'll work together as to what image, because I kind of know in the style that I paint, what image, what sense to work well. And then from there, we'll kind of work on the painting from that point.
So when you say, I just want to talk more about the process. When you say work on the painting from there, is that based on the initial feedback, you go off and create it and then you send them the finished piece, or is it, this is what I'm thinking about, this is the plan, are you happy with the plan, let's go with this?
Yeah, no, like outside of actually choosing the image, from there on in, I'll just deliver the piece as like, do you know what I mean? I think that as an artist, you've got to have some kind of creative expression in what you want to do, and whatever I produce. Unfortunately, touch wood, no one's come back yet and said they don't like the finished product.
Yeah.
But I think that by the time that you're at a point where you're buying a painting from me, you kind of know what I'm going to be doing. Do you know what I mean? Like to a degree, like the flicks, it's going to be black and white. It's going to be very close up face. Like you kind of know what roughly you're going to get. And then I tend to send a mock up to clients of what roughly it will look like before I actually start. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I have noticed as well on your social media that you personally deliver the artwork as well. Yeah. You post on social media. Is that a brand awareness strategy, or is that just, look, I just want to celebrate myself?
Yeah, it's kind of a twofold why I try to deliver. If it's too far, I get quite a few international orders, so obviously I can't. Do you know what I mean? But where possible, one, I really like meeting the customers that are buying from me. Like if you spent a fair bit of money to buy a painting, I think it's only right that I take a little bit of time out of my day to come and deliver that to you. And whilst I'm at a stage I can do that, I think that people remember the little things, and doing that, just have a little bit of a conversation. I like understanding why and just show a bit of respect. You know what I mean? To go and drop that piece off, and then secondly, it's for content as well. So people like following a journey, and I think that's why I've been fairly successful in being able to build a fairly big-ish social media brand, because I tell people the journey. You can see what I'm up to. You can see the work that goes into delivering a piece. Like all of that helps you become relatable, in my opinion, and in turn that kind of builds that relationship with your audience. Have
you ever started a piece and for whatever reason you just felt, I just can't do this? This is not whether it's to me today, whether it's just I don't know how to approach this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not really. I don't know how to approach this. But I've definitely had paintings where I'm like, I cannot wait to finish this, or I just don't have any motivation to actually create the piece, just because I'm just not either feeling the person I'm painting or whatever. But yeah, I've definitely been from the moments where I'm like, yeah, I'd rather not be doing this one right now.
Earlier you mentioned commissions, and I know you do prints as well. What do you prefer between the two?
I prefer the paintings. Like I love seeing, not even so much the doing of the process, like that's work. Do you know what I mean? Like actually painting. But I love seeing the beginning to end process. Like as in, I like taking an image and what it ends up looking like. Do you know what I mean? That whole middle bit is the work part. But like, I must admit, like, maybe it's a bit egotistical, but like, I like the not accolades, but the comments that you get for making something look realistic or like a very cool image. Do you know what I mean? Like I like that part of it, sort of thing. So yeah, like prints is just an additional part of the business, just as a another revenue side to the business. But in terms of like packaging and all that kind of stuff, that's pretty long. That's long and boring. But yeah, like I think it's just a nice part of the business that, like, if you can't afford the actual painting, that you can still collect one of my artworks,
And how do you determine the price range of your artwork?
When I began painting, I just created a piece of Kanye West, and hadn't even planned on selling it. And my friend at the time, he was like, "Oh, can I buy that off you for like 200 quid?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can." Yeah, absolutely. And then since then, it's just kind of I've steadily increased the cost. So like when I'm getting too busy, well, not that the price fluctuates, but like it was quite apparent like that I didn't have enough time to paint all the paintings. Do you know what I mean? So to get rid of some of that demand, I guess you start putting the price up, and so it just incrementally, before you know, it's like 500, 1,000, and then you double it, and then do you know what I mean? It just goes up and up from there, I guess.
So when you first started off, you didn't intend to sell your art. You was just doing it as a hobby.
Yeah, so I've always been quite, I guess, entrepreneurial. Like, always wanted to do something on the side. I tried property, social media agency, like jeans companies, to try a load of different stuff. And it comes back to that kind of quote, like just looking within and I guess believing in your gift as such. And so there was no intention to kind of make it a thing. It was just I like to be busy, and so I just started painting. And then before I knew it, like people were liking what I was doing, and so that just led to commission after commission sort of thing. So yeah.
So you kind of owe it to your friend who sort of kick the door
Yeah.
down.
Well, I'll give you the story. So for a TV producer, and so over the years I've got to know like a lot of people that are on TV and influencers and all that kind of stuff. And it just so happened that my friend, he was on Love Island, and he went on there, built a following obviously by being on that show. And after he come out, he then saw the painting that I was working on. He then bought it, and not just buying it, he actually posted it on his Instagram.
Okay.
And when he did that, that obviously went to a lot of people, and then I posted it to mine, and then from there, that then led to other people seeing that, and then that led to commission after commission after commission. And where I've built up contacts in TV, I was able to paint for other people who had large followings. They would then post me, and a lot of it was free work for the first year and a half, 2 years was kind of free work, I'm like, cool, I'll paint you this painting, and if you post it, you can just have it, sort of thing. And that led to kind of building the audience, and yeah, that's how it kind of started, I guess.
As you said, a very business-like approach, so which paid off.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just feels like common sense, because attention is the game, in my opinion.
I guess you've kind of answered a part of this question anyway, but I was going to ask, how do you get your artwork seen by press and sort of publications? I guess it's just people retweeting your artwork.
Yeah, I mean, getting press, that is quite difficult. Like, as in, you've got to be press worthy. You've got to have a story. You've got to have something. I mean, I managed to get into the press, albeit brief, but I had my first ever exhibition at South Place Hotel in London.
Yes.
And I had a few different kind of personalities there, influencers, celebrities and whatnot. So the Mail Online picked up on it, which was amazing. But it's quite difficult to kind of get that press unless you're willing to kind of pay a PR agency to do that. But outside of that, for me, social media, I know it has a lot of downsides, but I wouldn't be able to be an artist if I didn't have social media, because otherwise you had no option back in the day but to go into the gallery system, because social media wasn't a thing. Do you know what I mean? So and word of mouth, unless you're extremely lucky or just completely amazing, word of mouth just wouldn't be enough people to be able to generate enough to make it a business,
Fair point. Totally different question. Have you ever worked with another artist on a collaboration piece?
I haven't yet. I've been asked to, and I think as I move into NFTs, so digital artwork, I think that possibility becomes more and more doable, and it's so much easier to work digitally like that. But for me, there's not really a lot to collaborate with at the moment. I'm just trying to become the best artist that I can be. And I know it sounds a bit cheesy, a bit cliche, but it's like I want my portraits to just be amazing, and people buying that from me, as opposed to needing to collaborate with XYZ person to generate a sale or that kind of thing.
Fair enough. You mentioned NFTs.
Yeah.
I want to understand, as an artist, why why NFTs? Why and how? What is the pros or the purpose of you just having? I want to get into NFTs.
So NFTs, non-fungible tokens, is, I mean, that's just the technology, but the idea being that artists can now get royalties. So, for example, if you buy a picture from me, you can then hold it. You then sell it on to the next person. I will then receive a royalty from that sale, and that will come back to myself, sort of thing. So that's the game changer for artists. Where if I sell you a print and then you sell it on, I'm not going to, one, know where that is, or two, be able to collect a royalty. But because of the transparency of the blockchain, think of it like a big Excel database.
Yeah.
Because everyone can see what the transactions are and who's got what and all that kind of stuff, it means that you can kind of, get royalties. And also, I guess the most important part of NFTs is that it gives you provenance. So like, you can prove that you own that asset, that digital asset, whereas prior to that, you had no ability. If I sold you a picture, there's no way to tell anyone else that I was the one that took it and it was my picture. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now with the blockchain, as I said, it kind of registers on the blockchain. Everyone can see that you own that picture that I sold you, and that, as we move further and further into a digital age, is going to be very important.
And you've already started that process. You've already fully immersed yourself, and you're seeing the fruits of that already.
It's difficult, but it's not. It's very difficult. Like, there was a wave where everyone was just buying NFTs in like a small bubble, but it definitely hasn't hit mass adoption yet, and people don't really understand the technology. But the crowd that buy NFTs are more like a degen culture. They're not like art critics,
Yes.
and at this point in time, for the most part. So it's very much a different type of skill set. That is pure business. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you're building almost a company to give your digital assets value. Do you know, if that makes sense.
That's fair. Out of all your artwork or all pieces of art you've created, what would you say is your favorite?
What, the favorite piece that I painted?
You've painted, yeah.
I really like the Anthony Joshua piece that I did, just from a technical standpoint. And I did a painting of Rosa Parks and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, sorry. And technically, they are the best paintings that I've actually created, but that wouldn't necessarily sell the best because they're not as well known, you know, for the most part. But technically, they are the best paintings that I've created, in my opinion.
Earlier in this interview, you mentioned you do get international requests as well.
Yeah.
Are you able to, I guess, perhaps name the top 3 places or destinations or demand for your art?
Yeah, so America being one, like just all over America. UAE, I've painted a couple of times for like sheikhs that are there. I don't really know too much about the culture, but they always want like the different sheikhs painting. And then obviously just the UK, like they are the places. I've had an order from Australia before, but sporadic. But I wouldn't say it was like, consistently. I've just had the odd one here or there. But America, UAE, and then obviously England.
Something I should have asked earlier, actually. How long have you been doing this for?
Coming up 4 years now, yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, I was 28 when I started. Yeah, coming up 4 years.
And can you see a big improvement from where you first started to now?
Yeah. I think when I initially started, I wanted to see if I still had the ability to paint. And again, like we were talking offline, like the difference between that first painting and what I'm painting now are like, they're worlds apart, do you know what I mean? And even from now, I'm like, I still feel like there's loads more that I can improve on. So yeah, but I guess that's just the process, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of it is just starting. So yeah, I've seen a big improvement. I think that there's no way you can't. Like, if you just practice something over and over and over again, there's no way you can't get better at it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there's a big difference. Yeah.
Okay, and finally, and this is probably the most important question.
Yeah.
What song would you like to include in our playlist?
What song would I like? Yeah, can you do freestyles or not?
Anything you want.
what was I was listening to Kanye West on the Yeezus documentary the other day. There was this freestyle that he does when he was young. It's just amazing. You know, in like the people in the room are like, we are witnessing greatness. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like everyone has that kind of moment where they. So I don't know what the freestyle's called, but if it would be one song, my favorite ever song is "Through the Wire." Kanye West. But if you can find that freestyle, well, I'll show you after this. It's incredible.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you for your time, Laurence.
Yeah, no worries at all.
Okay.
If you've enjoyed this video, please do comment, like, share, and subscribe.
Wasani TV, it is a wrap.